Good morning and welcome back to Kramer's Corner with daily technical update. It is the 2nd of January 2025 and Happy New Year to you all. Hope you had a nice Christmas and got into the new year. These videos, as always, they are for educational purposes only from a technical analysis point of view, and that is all they are meant for. So let's start cracking here in the new year. I have a look at what's a little bit look back, and then let's see what could it bring here in the new year. Let's start with S&P 500 that over the Christmas period has been under pressure, especially the days between Christmas and New Year, and key support here 5,864. This gap area here will be really key the next few days. What is also worth to note is that the RSI is actually in negative sentiment, and that indicates we will see the 5,864 being taken out. Key will be, can we close below 5,783, below the 100 moving average and below the cloud? Then we could actually go into January with under pressure on the US equities market. So that will be key here the next few days. Here pre-market we are bouncing a little bit, 0.60%, so maybe we can hold on and there will be fresh money coming in, lifting the markets at least the first couple of days. So let's see about that. The Nasdaq 100 also sold off heavily. Key support 20,896, and the 55 moving average will give some support here. No negative sentiment on the RSI. It's actually positive, and there's no divergence, so it's sending a little bit different signal than the S&P 500, but key support here should be observed, and also the RSI should be observed whether it close below 40 or not. For now it seems fairly strong. Here pre-market we are up 0.80% and bouncing from the 55 moving average. So if we can get back above the little peak there at 21,860, well then we can resume uptrend. For now we are still under pressure, but RSI is still positive, so we have some hopes to cling on to here. The Dow Jones index 42,221 support. RSI is negative. There is currently no divergence indicating we could see lower levels, but this 42,221 is still the key. If it takes out that, well, then we're looking at 41,563, possibly lower. If we can move back above 42,850, and here pre-market we are fairly close to it. I would say that if we can close above the 43,374, well then we are back in a positive or in a bullish trend, and here pre-market we are at least bouncing somewhat, and still bouncing from the 100 moving average. Still hasn't closed below the cloud, but we are negative sentiment in RSI, so that'll be key what the next couple of days will bring. On the European market, well, EuroStoxx 50 also had a little bit of trouble over Christmas period or before, and but it has bounced strongly from the 4,800. It's still closing in the cloud and never closed below, and RSI is still positive, so we could see it bouncing further if it can get back above the 200 moving average and about the 4,900 and change. I'd say if we can close above, and what I will do actually, I will say, well, let's draw a trend line here. If we can get above 49.16, 49.17, and above the 200 moving average, I expect the bullish trend to resume towards 5,000. Here pre-market we are up, we are just about to open here. We are up about 0.8% bouncing, so let's see if we can get above the 200 moving average, and I do believe we'll get that because we are still in positive sentiment, never close below 40 on the threshold, and we are still above the cloud, so there should be potential to a fairly strong bounce after a fairly sad Christmas there from the market. The DAX index, well, if it can get back above 20,103, it should be possible after bouncing from the 50% retracement here at 19,667. If we can get back above 20,100 and 4, which I believe we could close the gap up here and push higher towards a new all-time highs. And that picture is likely to, scenario is likely to unfold if we can get the RSI to close back above 60 threshold. So look out for the next few days. If it takes out the low here, the little spike down there, 19,649, well, then we will see a larger correction towards 19,250. But for now, it looks like we are bouncing, and we can see here that the pre-market, we are actually pushing higher towards just around 20,000 at the moment, bouncing from the 61.8 retracement there. I think we will see a resuming uptrend. CAC 40, the trouble index, it's been lagging the others. It is trying to bounce. There's still positive sentiment on the RSI, never close below 40 and actually close above 60 threshold here. If it can get back above 60 threshold, well, then there's potential up to 74.50, 7,500. Moving on to the Forex market and euro dollar, that got rejected here at 104.60 resistance. Finding some support down here, and let's just add a support line there so we can see this is what you can do also. See, we have some support here at 103.40 around that level. So I will say breakout will tell the direction. We do have negative sentiment on the RSI, but as you can also see, the RSI values are actually rising at the moment, indicating at least short term we have some downtrend exhaustion for the on the RSI and the bearish trend. However, if it takes out 103.40, well, if we're looking at the weekly chart, we can see what's actually going on. Then there's potential down to 102 area down here where we have some stronger support on the on cable sterling dollar. Well, sterling dollar support around 124.85, around that level. A little bit of bounce. There's resistance here at 126. If it can get back above 126.15, well, then we could see a bounce up to 127. But it seems to be under pressure, but a little bit indecisive at the moment. On the weekly chart, we are in a negative bearish trend, negative RSI on the weekly here, and I think we could see it sliding lower in the coming weeks towards 122.5. Euro sterling, on the other hand, Euro sterling bounced to test the upper falling trend line here, but it couldn't really follow through, and then sliding back. And 82.25 still key support. We are in a bearish trend. Seems to be a little bit in exhaustive mode, but we really need to get back above the cloud, above 83.5, and that can be a bit of a story. We can see all moving averages are declining, both on daily and weekly. So Euro sterling really under pressure here, and I think we could see it sliding back toward 82.25. Dollar yen is pausing a little bit, trading sideways after a fairly strong December, I would say. 158 is back just a little bit above support here, 155.95, not the strongest. We could see a correction down to around 154.48, possibly lower. However, if it takes out the 158 and a change here, we have this this peak here, well, then we are looking at levels around 162.5, the previous peaks here or highs here, back from in the July month. Little bit of RSI divergence. Let's see, this value here is lower than this one over here, so it's easier to see. If we draw a trend line, you see it's actually declining, whereas the market moved higher. So we are in an exhaustive mood. However, all moving averages are pointing higher, so bullish trend is still intact, but we could see a correction down to around this level here we talked about. Euro yen. Euro yen got rejected at a 200 moving average, just below 165. I think it spiked maybe, yeah, they didn't touch it, just below 165, testing minor support here at 162.48. I think we could see it sliding back lower. What will be key, will it move back below the 100 moving average or not? If it does, well, then there's risk down to around 160 where we have some support. However, the RSI is still in a positive sentiment after being above 60 threshold. It needs to close back below 40 for bearish sentiment or negative sentiment, and then thereby supporting a bearish trend. And I think that will unfold if the euro yen closes below the 100 moving average and below the cloud area. If it can bounce, it really needs to take out 165 for upside potential towards 167, 168. Aussie yen, well, it can't really get into a cloud, being rejected here at the 100 moving average. As you can see, negative sentiment on the RSI, no divergence, indicating we are likely to see Aussie yen moving lower. It really needs to get back above 19.940 to establish a bullish trend, but we have the 55 moving average coming down there, indicating likely lower levels. Sterling yen, well, it couldn't get up to the resistance here, just below 200, and before fading. Still positive sentiment on the RSI, though, indicating we should see higher levels, and we are in a bullish trend. It's just struggling at the moment. I think we could see a correction, and let's add this, what you can also do at the Fibonacci. Oops, we just need to adjust this one a little bit. And the RSI, there's some support here at the 100 moving average and the 55 moving average. Sorry, this is the 200 and the 55. The 100 is down here. So we could see a slide down to around 195, 194, 80. And then I think we'll see a bounce. If it takes out the 200, well, then there is a potential to way higher levels towards 202, 203, maybe even higher. Moving on to Aussie dollar, that seems to be bouncing from the support here around 61.85. It dipped a little bit below. Seems to be a little bit divergence on the RSI. Let's just have a look here and see if, yeah, it is. It is actually a little bit higher here than over here. Seems to be in exhaustion mode. If we can get a bullish day to day, well, we can see at least a push up to the upper falling trend line. Key will be, can it break back above 63 and especially 63.35 here. If it can close above that, then we can see a stronger bounce towards 65. However, on the bigger picture, we are still in a bearish trend. But as we can see, we are back here to the 2022 lows, just below 62. So we are quite stressed. I think we'll see a bounce here in Aussie dollar next few days, maybe a couple of weeks. On the dollar Canada, still in a bullish trend after trading sideways here over the Christmas holidays. Potential up to 147, bullish trend on the weekly. As we can see, RSI also positive sentiment, no divergence. We're a little bit stressed though, but there is potential up to previous peaks there around 147. However, if it slides back below, and there's some support here, 143.35, then we can see a correction lower. But for now, it seems still very strong, and I think it will push higher. There's no divergence on the RSI that is supporting that. Sterling Canada, on the other hand, seems caught range bound here between 179.35 and up to around 182 and 32. So I think we will be caught range bound at this here area for a while. We have the 55 and we have the 100 moving average coming up there, giving some support. Euro Swiss, lower lows and possibly lower closing prices, starting to build an uptrend here above the cloud, above the 55 moving average, but sliding back below the 100, and key resistance here at 94.50. If it can get back above that, well, then there's potential up to around 95.5, some resistance just around the 95 area. Positive sentiment on the RSI, maybe slight divergence, but if the RSI can get back above 60 threshold, I think we'll see it pushing higher. So next few days can be decisive. But maybe we should see it sliding back to test the lower rising trend line here, forming a possibly ascending triangle-like pattern, but that's still, the jury is still out on that one. But there is some positive signs that it is above the cloud area. Dollar Swiss, on the other hand, has been totally different, obviously. A very strong move here in December, and now showing RSI divergence. You can see the RSI values declining, market moved higher, but there's still potential up to the peak area here around 95.50 area, but we are a little bit stressed, so expect maybe a little bit of correction. I added this trend line here. It's not the strongest one, especially not when they are that in this angle here, that steep, then it's not a sign that the uptrend you saw just below is being broken. But if we move back below 90 level, then we could see a correction lower to 89. But there's potential up to 91.5. And finally, on the dollar index. Still in a bullish trend. There is divergence on the RSI, as you can see here in balancing. So we are in exhaustion mode. However, looking at the weekly chart, there is potential higher. We need to adjust this a little bit. You can see we are in a strong bullish trend. Maybe a slight divergence, but we don't have a top in place just yet. There is potential higher for the dollar index in the coming weeks. Moving on to gold, that is still trading around this rising 100 moving average. You can see how it's actually trading around it, a little bit above, a little bit below, and so on. But what is key, it needs to get back above the 55 moving average. It needs to get back above the cloud for bullish potential. Key support here at 25.46. So we can see we are in a correction phase. We are below the cloud, so there's some negative signs there. But I think we will see it trying to push higher, but it needs to get back above the cloud here. And RSI should also get back above 60 threshold to support that picture. So a little bit indecisive. I will stay on the sideline for a while here on gold. On silver, it seems to find some support here at 28.74, bouncing. If it can get back above 30, well, then there is potential up to around 31, where we then have the 55 moving average coming down. We have the 100 that is still rising a little bit. There's some strong resistance here just below the cloud. So let's see. There is seems to be some RSI divergence. There is indeed. Let's just add that trend line, then we can see it. See, this is rising, meaning we are in a exhaust trend. Maybe we have a little bit of a double bottom pattern here, and then we can get an estimate of where we could move to if it takes out that level there at 29.90. Well, then yeah, potential up to around 31. On copper, is very weak at the moment, continuing sliding lower, trading at around just 400. Could slide lower to the lows here at 392. Negative sentiment on the RSI, no divergence, indicating it could slide down to that level there. So there's no sign that we will see a bullish trend being established. On the energy side and crude oil, here is WTI. Well, RSI closed yesterday above 60 threshold, indicating we could see a push to minor resistance here at 88, testing the upper part of the cloud. Can it also close above that? Well, then there is potential higher towards 75, 77, maybe even 78 up here. The 200 moving average, however, will give some resistance, but we are establishing a bullish trend. We see now higher highs, higher low, higher high. So we are in a bullish trend mode, very short term. Brent crude oil, more or less the same picture. Also established a higher high, higher low, higher high, broken above this falling trend line here. RSI still not above 60 threshold though, so I would like a confirmation of that for Brent crude oil also to push higher. And if it can get back above the cloud area, well, then there's potential higher also for Brent crude oil. Dutch TTF gas has really been on the move while we have been on Christmas holiday. A very strong move after this sell-off here that took it down to just above 38 euros. And here we're talking about euros. We can see on the weekly chart where it is headed. It seems to be headed towards the resistance area here around 55, 56, 80, where there's some strong resistance, but we are in a bullish trend with the Dutch TTF gas. So it seems that here in Europe we will have higher prices, and now this seems to, at least here in Denmark where I'm sitting now, well, then we have snow and minus temperatures. The US NatGas, Henry Hub gas, well, it failed to close above $4 on several occasions after spiking above, so it is struggling a little bit. So maybe It's not that bad for the US consumers, but we are in a bullish trend on the weekly. There is risk higher, but it needs to close above $4 to push higher. So maybe that's good news for the US households. US 10-year Treasury yields, well, it's hit and got rejected at the 463 resistance, spiking a little bit above, as you can see here. We could see a little bit of correction, possibly down to 445, but we are in a bullish trend. And if we're looking at the weekly chart, we can see higher highs, higher lows, higher highs. There is potential higher to 474 percent. Where we have some resistance broken this falling trend line. We talked about it just before Christmas. That was the picture that was unfolding. Actually, closed above 450 just before Christmas. So it should come as no surprise. Now it's testing the 450 from the other side, and I think we'll see it bouncing higher. But a little bit of correction is in the cards. On the 2-year, 2-year actually got sent back after peeping just above 435, never closed above, and now it's testing the 470 support, not the strongest one, but we have the 55 moving average coming up. There's still positive sentiment on the RSI. If it closes below 470, I will actually adjust this and say, well, this is actually the, hang on, oh, it does move, there we are. 415. If it does close below 415 and if you get RSI back below 40 threshold, well, then suddenly the 2-year will drag lower towards 4%. So maybe it will throw a lifeline a little bit also to the US 10-year, and we've seen a correction also spilling into that. The EuroBund future, massive sell-off here in end to December, from mid to end to December, to the 200 moving average, 61.8 retracement, 132.85, bouncing from that. Negative sentiment on the RSI. Let's see if it will follow through. If it takes out the lows here from the 30th of December at 132.71, well, then there's potential down to around 131.85 level. If it can get back or close above the cloud area above the 55 moving average, maybe we could then see a correction, and I will then add Fibonacci levels to that to give an idea what's going on, up to 134.17, possibly higher. So key will be here the next couple of days what scenario will play out. The UK Gilts also saw a very heavy sell-off here throughout December, and if we're looking at the weekly chart, we can actually see what's actually been going on. We are in a bearish trend. There's negative sentiment on the weekly chart. There's still potential down to 90 level, and these lows here back from 2023 and 2022. Moving on to cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin, that is bouncing off from the 92,000 level, just above the support here at 90,680. If it can get back above the 55 moving average here, well, then I think we could see a resuming of the bullish trend. Positive sentiment on the RSI, bouncing from the 60 threshold. Oops, sorry about that. Bouncing from the 40 threshold, and if it can get back above 60 threshold, then the bullish trend is definitely resuming. Key resistance at 100,000, and we could see a push above that. If it takes out 100,000, then expect new highs. Ethereum has been really under pressure, sliding back all the way down to 3,100, but just above the 3,000 support level, bouncing. If it can get back above 35.50, well, then I think we'll see it resuming uptrend towards 3,722, possibly higher. But if it takes out 3,000, then expect lower levels on Ethereum. All right, that's all for today. Have a nice day, and talk to you again tomorrow.